Well, welcome everyone to the Pediatric Retinal Research Foundation Family Advisory Committee Workshop. Tonight is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, and we will begin right at 7 or 7:02. Just know that our workshop is designed to for 1 hour. We do allow opportunity to stay on for those of you who might have a question or two, or would just like to have a conversation this evening with Aria. Aria is our guest honor, and she is here with her mother, Lisa Lavasco. Before we get started, though, I've got some housekeeping things. Here we go. The PRRF mission is to support the community impacted by blinding pediatric retinal diseases and champion the quest for cures through innovation. I want to give a special thank you and shout out to our Family Advisory Committee. We represent 7 rare diseases in that space, and many of the Family Advisory Committee members are here with us this evening. So I want to thank you all for your continued support. How to stay in touch with the Pediatric Retinal Research Foundation. Please visit our website at www.pediatricrrf.org. As I mentioned, you'll get a recording, so don't worry about taking notes. Today, it's about just listening in and waving to our guests here. Sign up for our bi-monthly e-newsletter on our website. That's the sightlines that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. You can also connect with us on Facebook at Pediatric RRF, or connect on LinkedIn at Company Pediatric RRF. And the most recent launch is our Through Our Eyes podcast. Please, if you have not listened to our podcast, you will find a link not only on Facebook, but also on our website. You'll see some fantastic material also on our podcast. We launch that twice a month in hopes in the future, hopefully that'll grow even more. But you'll find interesting material, interviews. It's just fabulous. PRRF is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization. Again, real quickly, the disclaimer: this event is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine or the delivery of medical health care services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials contained in or linked to this website is at the user's own risk. The content included in this webcast is not meant to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Viewers, listeners should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition that they have, and should seek assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. So with that said, again, our workshops are designed for our presenters to really share experience. So this is living experience. They've actually lived through some of these, through what they're going to talk about. So it isn't theory, it's actually what's happened. So I welcome you all this evening, and I'd like to now present to you Lisa Lavasco and Aria Lavasco. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Excited to see your cousins on the call with her.
Very nice.
That picture on the screen is from the first Hope for Vision walk, and that's when Aria was the honored hero. Oh, very cool. So
Lisa,
yes,
her grandparents can't get the picture.
That's okay. We're on. We're listening.
You can hear. Okay, and we can share the video with you guys after the fact.
Okay.
But I guess I'm assuming that most people have probably had the opportunity to read the story if you're here. But just to give a quick recap, when Aria was about, Aria, honey, can't interrupt, okay? When Aria was about 10 weeks old, that's when we started kind of becoming a little bit more concerned. We were moving past, when they're doing all the googly-eyed baby things in the beginning, Aria started having a very rapid back and forth eye movement. and it seemed to be increasing in frequency, and I wasn't overly concerned. It was bothering my husband, but there was a day that we were sitting around the kitchen table with my parents and my brother, and I was holding Aria, and we all watched her eye. You know, she was focused on one of us at the table, and just her left eye kind of just drifted from top to bottom. And that was the first time I was like, okay, I can tell that's not normal to see her eye do that. And so we made a visit to go see her pediatrician. And at the time, you know, he examined her in office and said, you know, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. I'd recommend, you know, wait till at least about 6 months. But we felt too funny and pushed to see an ophthalmologist. So that's when we were sent to see Dr. Ed O'Malley, a pediatric ophthalmologist who was wonderful and has since retired. But when we went to go see him, that was the first, you know, that's when the real concern started to set in. So he had us in the office, and I'm not exactly sure how he did, but he took a photograph of her eye, and he then displayed it on a computer screen for us to see. And when he did that, you know, and he starts explaining, and he was showing us the surface, you know, showing us her eye, and all these spots were all over the picture. And he said that, you know, those were areas of abnormalities in Aria's eye. And I was kind of looking at it going, wait a minute, you know, that picture, it's her whole eye, the whole picture was speckled. So that was kind of, you know, Dr. O'Malley then at that moment goes, you know what, I'm going to step out of the office and make a quick phone call. So he called and then got us connected with Associated Retinal, where we were seen very quickly for the first time by the wonderful Dr. Tracy. And, you know, that's when he had given us a few different scenarios of what we were potentially dealing with. And we were seen about a week later by Dr. Capone for Aria's first exam under anesthesia. And that's when she received her official diagnosis of fever. So for us and our family, we really, we don't have any history of any sort of retinal or eye issues whatsoever. When I had that first visit with Dr. O'Malley and, you know, went to go see him that day, I wasn't even very overly concerned. Even after seeing her eye drift, we have a few family members who have a lazy eye and have had surgery for that. So I knew I was bummed, you know, thinking that that was something that she was going to have to deal with, but I know that that can be very correctable when caught early and that sort of thing. So was not expecting it to develop into so much more than what I guess I really initially thought that we were dealing with. So from that point, you know, and again, I kind of wrote about, it was kind of a tough time, just get, like I said, that it was a totally out of the blue diagnosis. I didn't have any family or friends who were dealing with similar circumstances. So Aria's earlier years involved a lot of doctor's appointments and occupational therapy and physical therapy and different teachers. So a lot of extra appointments and things. Can you talk yet? Yes, you'll get it. Yes, you will get a chance to talk. So I was just home alone. Pasquale was back to work and was really, you know, just on top of getting used to all the new mommy things, was probably overwhelmed by the fact, you know, family and friends would reach out and, you know, check in and see how we were doing with everything. But I just didn't have somebody to relate to who was going through similar circumstances as far as what we were starting to encounter with Aria's vision and fever diagnosis. So I think very, very early on, I reached out to Dr. Capone to find out how I could get involved in different things. I really wanted to talk to other mothers, find other families. And at the time that I had first encountered Dr. Capone in the organization, it was Ropart at the time. So I got to participate, and I believe it was a golf outing, and know some of the people from the organization, and I guess started getting involved from there. So that helped me to kind of work through what I you know spoke about in the article, is just kind of a feeling of loneliness having one of these rare diseases, you know, you're just not encountering other, didn't really, other than maybe being in the waiting room, you know, in the children's surgery center, you're not encountering other parents or families. So, which now at Aria's age has really kind of developed into a little bit more of a lonely feeling for her. Well,
So
you kind of, go
Lisa,
ahead.
yeah, so I love this. So folks are using the chat, and I really appreciate you guys
Okay.
using the chat. It's wonderful. So Heather Lundwall, who's on the call with us here today, is asking, well, basically she says, your story sounds very similar to ours. Have you heard about fever prior to your daughter's diagnosis?
Not whatsoever. And we have gone through genetic testing, our family, really the day of our first appointment or first exam under anesthesia. And so we found out, like, you know, after having my husband and I tested, and both sets of our parents, that we are not carriers of any of the major fever genes. So it really was a completely, you know, out of the blue diagnosis for us.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. And Lisa Short says that this happened to our daughter 27 years ago.
Wow.
So in a minute or so, and again, folks, please put anything in the chat or unmute yourself, and we'll make this very, very interactive this evening. Aria,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about this picture? Who is that guy? Is that your dad?
Is Dr. Capone.
Oh, Dr. Capone. And how about the other photo? That's a lot of people.
Photo that is my whole family.
Whole family and a lot of friends.
I wouldn't really say it's my whole family. A few were not there.
A few were not there, but that's a lot of us. That's a pretty.
That's a lot of people.
Turnout. Yeah.
Let's share a couple of more. What is this one?
That was once we had a year that we didn't have a walk at the place that we had the first one at. So we would go to our house, get a little bit of our family and friends, but we would go to our house for a little bit with our aunts and maybe a few of our friends, but we would go to this like place that my friend Ashlyn told me about. It's like a little trail that you get to walk on, and it's a really pretty trail. So we would go there instead.
So we had the walk at a little park near the house, and then we came back for pizza and cake and made a little party out of it, right?
That's beautiful, Aria. Look at that. We'll give you one more and then we'll let mommy talk, okay? Now, what's this one? Are you getting married here?
No.
No.
That was so at my school they have like little offers at like that we get paper from my school, and I got an offer, but I guess I wasn't really paying attention to my I wasn't paying attention to my folder, but my dad was looking at it to see if there's anything cool, but he found a paper in there and he kept it. And that was when I got asked to the daddy-daughter dance.
By her dad.
Special. Okay, so we've got Jen Thara who says, Lisa, hi, sounds very familiar to us as well. No family history and genetic testing hasn't identified any gene yet. Dr. Tracy was a blessing to our family. We're from Pennsylvania and travel to Michigan every 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Jen. And Alex has a question. He says, hi, everyone, and thank you for sharing tonight. What age did Aria start to have exams without anesthesia?
Wait, I'm gonna whisper it to me. whisper it to me.
I don't do exams under, I do all my exams under anesthesia stuff.
I do all my exams still under anesthesia.
Yes, so I know it's different for every kid. Aria actually just had one about 3 weeks ago, month ago, had an exam under anesthesia. We still do her annual that way. I know that a kid has to be able to tolerate that. I know that they usually, they do the dye test that involves, the injection, and we don't, Aria doesn't do shots or any of those things yet. So we are really hoping that maybe by next year that that's something that we might be able to put behind us. But she's 8 years old, and we have not begun doing them without the anesthesia yet.
Karina, I go out. My teacher wants me soon at the dinosaurs.
So listen, Aria. So let me see here. We have Megan Judici says, Katrina, your Facebook group helped me tremendously when my son got diagnosed almost 5 years ago. If it weren't for that group, I don't believe I would have gotten such great recommendation to travel and see Dr. Capone. Now we have, let me see.
And just to anybody who doesn't know on the call, Katrina Frost, who she mentioned, she's I'm not sure the correct term, like the ambassador for the Fever Facebook page. She maintains that, and she's phenomenal. She does tons and tons of positivity posts, also very realistic posts about everything she's gone through with her daughter and her beautiful daughter and her journey, and just an extremely strong mother who puts together a very, very supportive, good thought out information, works very hard to connect everybody. So again, when seeking that connection, we are very fortunate to have a very strong Fever page.
I'm crying.
Very nice, very nice. And so that's bringing Megan to Detroit from Ohio every 6 months as well to see Dr. Capone. Thank you, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, this question is, I believe you're asking a question for Dr. Tracy, who's on our call today. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Sure, I sure do. And Lisa, your daughter is beautiful. The pictures are so,
Aww,
yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. She sure
yeah,
is.
absolutely beautiful. Yes, I am just curious. My son's fever was found a little bit later. So, I just wonder, do you think that there will ever be a time where that is screening? Like, I understand there's more retinal screening done for preemies, obviously, for the retinopathy of prematurity, but just overall, I think, I work in the insurance industry, and so, I just think of, it doesn't have to go this far. It doesn't have to be this bad. It doesn't have to be this costly, to our little ones, if it were caught sooner.
Yeah, I think that's really a wonderful question. It's something that I think we at ARC, and I know I certainly support the idea of universal screening, and the precedent is already there. For example, for hearing, no babies leave the hospital without having a hearing screen.
Exactly. Yes.
For some reason, the push just hasn't quite been there as much for vision screening.
Right.
There have been some studies, the ones that I'm most familiar with are out of Stanford, which have looked at universal screening, and they pick up, a surprisingly high rate of abnormalities, a variety of different things, cataracts and glaucoma, and also retinal disease as well. So I don't think that it is quite there yet, but there's a growing body of knowledge which is suggesting that there is a lot of value to that. And I certainly would love the idea. If you know any senators who could help push that over the line, that sounds good to me.
Yes, well, I completely agree with you. I talked to my dad about it several years ago. My son is 17 now. so, and doing really well. But, you know, I remember saying to my dad, you know, where do you start, like, for that? And so, you know, he also said, Senator. And then thankfully my son's fever has been stable, and, you know, I think I've just gotten busy raising kids and working, and just hadn't thought about reaching out, you know, to senators. But I think to your point, you're exactly right. As far as those hearing screenings, you know, the newborns don't leave the hospital until they've had that. And so I would love to see that.
I would too. I think that would be
Mhm.
amazing. And it could be something as simple as just a photograph. It doesn't have to be an exam under anesthesia. It could be very straightforward. There are several companies that are even working on, you know, non-contact imaging, which would even make this, you know, even more of a no-brainer in my opinion. So I don't think we're quite there yet, but hopefully
Yeah.
we'll be getting there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think too, you know, like you said, to your point, not to advocate for babies to go under anesthesia, or, you know, even pharmaceutically dilate eyes. I mean, just with a darkened room, right? And maybe.
Yeah, many of those
something-
cameras too are looking at what are called
Mhm.
non-mydriatic cameras, where you don't even have to dilate the patient.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
you know, as the technology improves, I think that this would be a wonderful thing.
Okay, good. And Lisa Schwartz, I see your, is that something we could work on? I'm totally in if that's what this group would. You can totally count me in.
And that'll take us back to Lisa. Tell us about the Family Advisory Committee. How does that help you, and how can we help Heather and the Lisa Shorts in the world as well?
You know, just like I again had kind of just wrote about and touched on in my story, there is that that was truly just for me part of the healing process. You know, obviously there's so much that's out of my control as a mom, and there's so much that you want to, you know, do and be capable of. But at the very least, supporting these causes helps me to, you know, feel that I'm supporting Aria in the best way that I can, and not just Aria, but all these kids and all these parents and all these adults who have gone through so much. So just really wanting to support through, whether it's, you know, fundraising for the people who are working towards, you know, treatments and cures and things of that nature. So I just hope to help that grow and gain more recognition for the cause. You know, there's some, you know, like I've always heard of fever referred to as an orphan disease, and I know that oftentimes it's harder to gain funding and things like that. So just hoping to continue to grow awareness of our cause, of this foundation, and continue to support, you know, their work. So
Thank you. And Aria, tell us a little bit about your fever.
So when I was young, I was born with
speak up. When you were young.
when I was young, I was born with a disease called fever. But when I was too young to realize that I had it, and I couldn't tell my parents that I could. But when we were done, and after we found out, when we were done with all the visits, we've been home, but we go to appointment so he can still check them to make sure it's healthy, but we usually stay home. And I have a lot of friends, but before in first grade, I got to made fun of out of my eye a little bit, but I always had some other friends that I could play with at a park. I try my best to find a friend to play with as soon as I get there, and every time I get this many questions. So every day. And even at school, but even the friends that I told them, they keep forgetting, they say, so they just do it again. I don't like when they ask all the questions because it's really tiring when this eye hurts when I'm paying attention to too many things with when I watch too much TV or like just stare too long, my eyes starts to hurt. So I would like go to the couch or the bed and shut my eyes for a little bit because it would hurt for a little bit since this eye only does all the work. The other eye can't help. So every time that happens, I do. But in the water, it doesn't bother me.
No.
No, it feels really good in the water though. And
Okay, well, can we ask you some questions then? I think Miss Louisa's got a couple more questions for you.
okay.
Well, thank you for sharing, Aria. And I'll only ask this many questions, okay? Not this many.
Yeah, well, and tell her that. I think that's one of her more recent frustrations, it's just that, she gets a lot of questions. And she says, what do you say? Every time I meet somebody new?
Every time I meet someone new, they always say the first thing right when I get to them and and then usually at school, I also get weird faces squinting at me.
Yeah. But then what do? You tell them what?
I tell them something and then I go play.
And then you
with
go
my
play.
friend. I have other friends that do understand that don't need reminders. And that is Ella Woods. She is the only one in the school that never asks me.
She doesn't ask you the same questions.
No.
So yeah, I think this has been the start of a little bit of a tougher year for Aria because I just think she's probably grown in her awareness a little bit more about her disease. And I think one of the big things that she's really started to ask me is, or say to me is, that she doesn't feel like there is someone else in her school or someone else in her neighborhood like her, and has asked me a lot of times, like, Ma, can you set me up a play date with somebody else, like me? And that's frustrating as a mom because I want to be able to do that for her.
We did see someone that had a closed eye, but it wasn't the same disease.
It wasn't the same disease, but you guys were sure excited to meet each other, right? Mm-hmm.
So Aria, what do you want to tell the kids or the parents who are on this call tonight, about fever? What advice do you have?
After you have your big appointment, it doesn't really bother anymore. And that it's good underwater.
And that it's good underwater, huh?
Would you help make kids up?
Yeah, we're seeing some of the questions coming through.
21.
Would you like me to read that to you?
Yeah, please.
All right. So would it help to match kids up with an older buddy who has been through this?
Would you like to talk to some older kids who've been through this?
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
That would be fun. I remember asking the same things for my daughter, Alex.
You're a good reader. So Alex says, thank you, Aria, for sharing your story. Lisa, what activities does Aria do? Our daughter Maya is 5 and diagnosed over a year ago, and we find ourselves asking, is this safe? Even things like PE at school, we get, I lost my spot here.
Mhm.
We get worried. Any suggestions?
You know what? So we do have Aria, you know, she does wear protective lenses without prescription, but she does wear protective lenses for that reason. This year she's doing dance. I mean, there are certain things that, yes, we feel like we avoid a little bit. You know, she's not going to be probably no softball, no things like that. But she's doing dance. She's done swimming. She's tried some violin. I think we're going to try that again.
Gymnastics.
We have tried gymnastics in the past. You know, so whatever she's open to and interested in, and I'm trying to think, because there is stuff my husband and I have kind of looked at each other and said, maybe, you know, that wouldn't be something we'd want to try. But right now her things are dance and swim, and she's enjoying Girl Scouts
I'm
too.
not in swim because we would tell no ball.
Do you want to read that?
Yeah.
Sorry, we keep seeing the chats. They pop up, but they disappear.
Yeah. Okay. So we were told no hardball sports, but Kaylee has been a competitive gymnast. She's totally blind now, but still cheers and
Mhm.
sings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ari
And-
was talking about that. We're trying to get her at our church hopefully sometime soon, but it's not, the days aren't working out. So yes, she says she wants to sing with the choir at church or do some voice lessons. So
I know
we're-
what's gonna happen.
questions, yeah, she's good. Yeah, so but she's always been very good at dealing with questions, you know, even at the park or anything else. Well, you always have been. I think it's been a little bit tougher of a year dealing with questions, but I almost feel like even at her age, maybe kids are more inquisitive or more forward, where you know, they might ask question when she was younger, but then they would just move along and play. So
Very nice. So it looks like you're skating here. So skating is an option.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Let's
something that we're hoping to do sometime in the fall or in the winter too. We have a cousin who teaches skating lessons, so we're hoping to do that. Ooh, I see a
Nice.
question. Says, who is Aria's favorite Disney princess? Do you have a favorite Disney princess?
So there are two favorite Disney princesses that I have. So I loved Elsa and Anna, but I do also like Ariel.
You do also like
I like
that.
Anna, Elsa, and Ariel.
Those are the favorites.
Uh-huh.
What about Merida?
Yeah, that too.
Very nice. And what do you have here in your hand? What's over here? Aria, what are you holding?
This?
No, in the picture.
Oh, in the
No,
picture, that's at Disney World.
It says,
What's in the picture?
oh yeah, it's a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Can
was
beautiful.
I read the question that just came up?
It said, what was your favorite ride at the Magic Kingdom? What do you think is your favorite ride that we did?
It was.
I'm drawing a blank.
It was a.
They all blur
It
together.
was my favorite one. Was the dinosaur one.
The dinosaur one?
Because because of my dad smiling, my mom holding on to my brother, me screaming, and my brother's like.
Yeah, it ended up being a scare. That was at the Animal Kingdom, though. I can't remember. In Magic Kingdom, I can't remember what I like.
Magic Kingdom.
Swallow before you talk.
Wasn't that like an aerial one or something?
There was an aerial one we went on. Gosh, I'm like totally drawing a blank on the rides that were there. But that was the first time. You like it? Would you want to go back?
Yeah, but I don't like planes. They
But
don't
you don't
give
like
me good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Because 1909, a plane crashed, and I was not happy.
Oh, Aria, what are you talking about? So
1909.
tell them more, maybe tell people more about what our walk party has been like.
our walk parties have been like that. We take a giant walk.
Mm-hmm. But have they
and-
they've been a lot of fun, haven't they?
Oh,
Mm-hmm. And last time, so what did we do last time? We had a bunch of friends there
and then we
and they had an awesome, a wonderful,
parade.
I feel like a MC for the event, like
No.
he did a lot of fun games with everybody.
Hmm?
Don't you remember?
Oh, the DJ does a lot of fun games
Mm-hmm.
until you had to go on the giant hike.
Until we had to go on the hike. Well, that was the walk.
It stinks.
No, but you had a lot of friends who came out.
Gabby came.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gabby
Can I have
came.
chocolate milk?
Neighbors, maybe afterwards, Aria.
Oh.
Let's go ahead and allow, I know we've had questions in the chat, but
Yeah.
if you'd like, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question, either Lisa, Aria, we've got Dr. Tracy on the call. And I know a few other folks, but go ahead. Let's open it up for some Q&A.
Want to ask a question? How's Clara doing?
No, silly.
Clara?
No. Maybe somebody has questions.
Oh.
Well, I have a question for you, Lisa. You had mentioned that someone had asked you to go see occupational and physical therapy.
Yes.
I was just wondering, what age that was, because I don't think that I make that recommendation very often, and who it was that sent you, and what was your experience? How was it?
So you know what? That's funny that you say that, because that was actually a point in the direction. So I have a sister-in-law who I have a niece that was born with a disease called Prader-Willi syndrome. And again, it's a very, I think you would consider an orphan disease. It's very uncommon. And that was a few years before having Aria. So she was pretty like on the ball about telling me, Lisa, this is who you need to contact. This is what you need to do. This is, so she gave me the points in the right direction. So I then started making some contacts, through the school district and whatnot. So at about 9 months, Aria started receiving services, and they came to the house and kind of did like an evaluation of her and gave me an idea of what things that we should begin progressing in doing. And so that started until she was school age, and then she received an IEP that we'd been working with, for pretty minimal services for Aria. But I just, at her age, especially at 9 months, and we were still, doing patching and things like that at the time, we didn't exactly, didn't truly, we at that point in time had thought maybe she was seeing some light perception, things of that nature. And so I just wanted to work with professionals who, might be looking for things that I might miss out on.
So my mom, she put like a little eye patch on this eye,
Mhm.
because I thought I can see in this one. I did not like it.
No, she did not like it when she was a baby, and we did the
It was
patching.
terrifying. I couldn't see a thing.
Yes, eye patching was not an easy thing to do. And then at about 1.5 years, Aria did go through a bout of glaucoma, and we stopped patching after that.
Got it. Thank you so much. And can I also just give a shout out to Ella Woods there? It sounds like she's a great friend.
Yeah. Ella Woods is a nice friend.
Especially the silliest one that calls me a big grub.
She's very silly, like you.
No, he's sillier.
Would it be okay if I asked Dr. Tracy a question?
Yeah.
Because I have a daughter who's 28 now. She was a patient of the other Dr. Tracy's a very long time ago in 1999. And she's actually patient number 3 in the paper he published in the year 2000. But I think she was one of the first people he did an enzymatic vitrectomy on. But my question is, does anybody, now that she's older, and we don't have any fever that we know of in our family history, we've had some genetic testing done. Does anybody know how about a child with fever passing it to their children? Do you know any, or what kind of testing should be done or could be done prior to getting pregnant? Do you know? Do you have any long-term things like that?
So I guess, first of all, the question is about inheritance patterns. And so, for fever, it comes in every possible way that you could think of: autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked, sporadic. It just, unfortunately, there's a lot of different ways that it can be genetically influenced. And in terms of prenatal testing, I don't think that there is anything that can be done more than the panels that we currently have. And we do have some panels. If your daughter has a genetic mutation that has been identified, then, or if that testing was done a long time ago, the panels have been updated. So it may be worthwhile to repeat them to see if something new has come up on the panel. But I don't think that that gives you a straightforward prognostic result. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. She had some testing done at Will's Eye in Philadelphia.
Okay.
It was kind of, there were some things that could possibly be related, but again, it wasn't so straightforward, and wondering how you proceed from there. But
I wish I had a better answer for you. I saw in the chat that someone had done some fetal testing, which can sometimes be very beneficial. But I think a certain level of suspicion needs to be there to warrant the risks that are associated with that. And so I'm so glad for Megan and her family that worked out.
Yeah, that's great. And I just wanted to make one quick thing, which is, I was in this situation 28 years ago, didn't know anybody who had a child with fever. But I wish I had had a crystal ball till now, because for our family, we were fortunate. My daughter has stayed stable since she had some procedures done early on. And she is a scientist. She completed her PhD in neuroscience. And if someone had told me that when she was a baby, it would have saved me like a lot of gray hairs. So it does, it can be, you can do really well even with fever. That's basically what I was trying to say.
That's beautiful. Dr. Capone, I see you're on the call. Is there anything that you'd like to share?
No, I think Matt handled that, question perfectly with regard to, genetic testing and prognosticating. And I think everybody on the call probably knows that half of the patients who have clinical fever end up with genetic testing that is uninformative, right? So it doesn't mean that they don't have the disease. It means we haven't figured out what gene or genes are accounting for the other 50%, right? I think we tend to imagine sort of one gene, one disease, couple of genes working together, if you will, that are the wrong genes to have, that kind of bring you to that clinical place. So, Matt's right. We have a lot of genetic information, but it's not really brought with it the clarity that I think we all aspired to see as we got more and more genetic information. So right now we have a lot of data that's often difficult to parse, which I think has been, the experience of a lot of folks that we've tested.
Thank you. Katrina, I saw that you were, or is it Heather? Someone wanted to say or share? Please feel free to do so.
No, I had come off of mute, but I think through listening to everybody, some of my questions were answered. Like in my son's genetic study, there were not genes that were identified. And so, but, he's my middle child. I could step in the middle. And so I have an older child and a younger child, on either side of him. So I think when I heard that it was genetic, I think the first thing I was thinking of was, oh my gosh, I don't think that my heart can take, another child with this. And so, they were both tested and were negative for it. And that testing was through the exams under anesthesia. And so, but his genetic study was inconclusive as well. Like none of the known fever genes were identified. And so, and not in myself, not in my husband. But they did find, when I did the same exam under anesthesia that he had done, they did find those same patterns. And my, again, not to the degree that my son has it. I have walked around with 20/10 vision. You know, my dad was a pilot. And so, you know, really, to be honest, vision was not on my radar, you know. And so I guess that was just my question was just around that genetic testing. We've not had it updated, you know, that was 10 years ago. And I heard, I think Dr. Tracy or Dr. Capone talk about updating the genetic profile maybe, and then Dr. Capone addressing maybe it's a combination of genes. I don't think that was anything I'd ever heard before, to be honest, that that's a potential, I guess, cause, you know, as well. And, you know, my son, it's interesting, Lisa Schwartz, that you talked about that genetic component and pre-genetic testing and things like that, because occasionally my son will say, you know, would I pass this on? Could I potentially, you know, and so I just, you know, I think knowledge, right, is power. Had I known that I could potentially carry it without it really expressing itself, I think things would have been different from day one. So I think, you know, just knowing, you know, I told him that the potential for that is there. Then he and his wife years from now, right, like after college, after all of that, that would be something, you know, that they would already seek out a pediatric retinal specialist and say, hey, you know, I have this and I am concerned, you know, and like you said, maybe, but without a known gene, you know, I don't feel like that would be, I mean, maybe in the future, right, more genes would be identified for that. So I think those were just kind of my thoughts as I was listening and everybody was talking.
So just
Yeah.
a couple of comments. You know, new genes are being identified on a regular basis. It was as say we have a genetic panel that I think you know, Dr. Tracy was alluding to. A year and a half ago was 270 genes. The current iteration is 330 genes. So you know, our sophistication continues to grow. Part of the reason I talk about the prospect of a, you know, a multi-gene, you know, circumstances. Again, first of all, we conventionally think about one gene, one disease, but in many ways, I think we've already kind of picked the low-hanging fruit, and probably there's greater complexity that lies behind the other 50% of patients who clearly have disease, right? If you have a child who's affected and you indeed have milder but similar findings, there's no doubt that, you know, that you have the condition. The question is, you know, the detective work to find the genetic basis for it. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think someone else was trying to speak.
Kathleen, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Yes. Is it working? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, my voice is, I lost my voice due to cold. So I think I have a question about our IEP. So my son is just turned 4 years old. And then, so he has one good eye, one bad eye. That's what people so called. And then we all know that this disease is pretty unpredictable. And then my question is just for the parents and then the doctor's suggestion to see if it's necessary to seek out Braille for the bad days in the future. And then if any parents here has any success asking for it, if your child has one good eye, one bad eye, because my son right now, he's not behind in anything. And then, so last time I talked to because he's going to K next year. So last time I talked to district that they don't seem that convinced, but I do want him to prepare for the rainy days. Sorry, he's screaming right now. I'm gonna mute myself. Yeah.
This is Katrina. Does anyone mind if I answer this?
No, go right ahead, Katrina.
So, and I'll just give you a short, small background. So, Kaylee was diagnosed when she was almost 2. And so she still had a lot of vision. And when she started preschool, we had her evaluated and all of those things. And like I said, I'm going to fly through this because you don't need all the minutia. But when we started her on her IEP program, the school pushed back and said, she's not blind yet. We got a lot of that. And with a fever diagnosis, there is a potential, and Dr. Capone and Dr. Tracy can obviously add their anything into what I'm going to say, but there's a potential for vision loss at any time because of detachment. But with Kaylee's potential, we did go out and see Dr. Tracy before, and then we ended up going to California to see Dr. Noodleman. However, we pushed really hard when she was about 3 to start cane skills, and then we added Braille at 4. And I can help you with there's laws in place for children who have a degenerative vision disorder. And so we were always informed that if there is a case of a degenerative vision loss, that you should or could go ahead and push for Braille. In Kaylee's case, I am so incredibly grateful that I did, because as she progressively lost more and more vision, she was relying more and more on what little vision she did have, and she was giving herself more headaches and more stress and all those things. Kaylee had her first retinal detachment when she was 10, and between 10 and 12, she is now completely blind. So what I kept telling the school when she was younger is she would have to play catch up, because Braille isn't something that you learn quickly. Braille is another language, and it takes years to develop their finger pads. It's a connection between the brain and all of these other things. And I'm trying to run this through very fast. And so if you think about it, Spanish, if you're trying to be fluent in Spanish, it takes a couple of years, right, to learn all those components and all of those things to be fluent. But not only in Braille are you reading with your fingers, and then it's there's all these different components to it. So the younger that they start practicing and reading, the better that they will be when they need it in their future. And so now that Kaylee is completely blind and in 7th grade, if you think about it, the homework and the classroom work is faster, it's harder, and it's more. And so if she were to have to learn Braille now as she's getting more work and it's harder and all of those things, she would be so far behind. So I am a very big person for, while they're still young and if they still have vision, to get them into the early stages of learning Braille, get them a TBI as fast as you possibly can. And if you need any help with your IEPs whatsoever, any kind of advocacy, I'm more than happy to help you. Sorry, that was like my short version.
Well, thank you. Yeah, because that's the problem that I'm running into. And I'm actually a pediatric speech therapist. So I know the special ed education very well, but somehow I'm still meeting the roadblock. And then so it's very frustrating. I don't know how to get into that one step, because they just said your son is not qualified, but I do want him to prepare. It's just an extra skill to have.
Are you?
What's that?
Support page?
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Are you on the fever support page?
I am. Yeah, I am.
Okay, send me a message and then we can take it offline, and
Sure.
I can help.
Yes, thank you so much.
I just also wanted to say, Aria, I'm so excited to see you. You're so big. Is she still there?
Say hi. She's still here.
Hi.
You're so big. I know you don't remember me.
They do remember. She does remember our visit.
Yeah.
When Katrina was in town for her visit with Dr. Tracy, she had put a message on the fever support page and said, any interested in Michigan families want to meet up? And so we did, and we got to meet a couple other friends that day. And she organized for us all to go to Leader Dogs from the Blind, which is an extremely cool experience. And then we had a Major Magics play date later that evening. And that was one of the only times we got to meet with some other fever families. So we were very, very grateful for her organizing and putting all that together, and all her efforts on our page.
Oh.
So she does. We still got pictures and videos. That's like the only time she's been to Major Magics. She always reminds me.
Thank you. Chuck and Donna, I know you had your hand up just a few minutes ago. What would you like to add? Oh, we can't hear you. Nope. Well, while you figure that out, Dr. Capone?
Yeah, a quick comment. I think probably in the interest of balance, I mean, I certainly agree that Braille is like a language and children learn languages best when they are young. And I would just say, kind of in the interest of, once again, in the interest of balance, fever can be a very asymmetrical disease where one eye is profoundly affected and the other eye is really entirely normal. Or with stage 1 fever, which virtually never progresses. And so my point here is I think the decision about whether a child should undertake learning Braille is likely best individualized to the circumstances of that individual child. And if a child is really, truly, essentially, likely to remain normal for their entire lives, it may not be the case that it's worth the effort, the energy, et cetera, to go through learning Braille if a child will never indeed use it. Conversely, if a child has severe disease in one eye and moderate disease in a companion eye, I think it's an incredibly prudent investment of time. So my point is not to say that anybody shouldn't have a resource that they need. Please don't misunderstand me. My intent is only to say it should probably be an individualized decision based on every child's circumstances as to whether, again, you and your child in the school system should make the considerable investment that it takes to learn Braille. And I'd be very curious to hear Matt's thoughts on that topic as well. Matthew, any comment?
I actually, I was thinking the exact same thing. There's I think that decision has to be an individual decision based on the family and the tempo and progression and severity of the disease. But so I don't have too much to add there. I think that you're right on. One of the things that I thought was very interesting, though, and is not brought up as much as learning Braille is mobility assessment, which is also and mobility assistance, which is also a really important thing when disease severity is rearing its head. So Katrina, I applaud you for being on the ball. And I think one of the things that I'm learning from participating in all of these phone calls is that the children who are really successful have parents who are very involved and go that extra mile. But in terms of learning Braille, I think that it's an individual thing, and when you need it, it's great that you can do it.
Thank you. Did we lose? Oh, Chuck, go ahead. Let's try it. No, you're
Volume.
still. Oh, wait, go ahead. Maybe the volume, yes.
You could try it in the chat. If we can't hear you, we can read it.
Yes. All right. And while he's doing that, Aria, I want to thank you so much for being so kind and so good tonight. You want to tell us one more time this next picture? Let me see.
So
What's this picture from?
what one?
Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go back to this one. Where were you? The water? Is this the water you love?
So we were at the beach and we were taking, so let's say, guys, this is a part of my mom's family tradition here of picture taking.
Picture taking.
That
Yeah.
seriously, my whole family hates. And we had to go take like 1,000 pictures at the beach.
Yep.
It was not
Memories.
good.
Gotta document that stuff.
No.
Okay. What are these ones
And
from?
so the first one was with my whole family.
Mm-hmm.
That's my brother, Gaetano. He is 5 years old. This is my brother. He is 5 years old. Mark, can I see my mouse move?
Yeah.
This is my brother. He is 5 years old.
Okay.
This is my mom. She is 30.
You don't have to. You don't have to share mom and dad's ages. How old are you?
8.
Okay. And what's going on in this next picture here?
That's my friend Gabby. She's 6 or 7, and that's me. And that's Dr. Capone and me.
And you. And that's at the walk at Stony Creek, right?
And Dad is.
No.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Oh gosh, not now. Battery's running low.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, thank you for sharing. Chuck says technology has improved over the years for IEPs. You can ask for listening comprehension and working memory assessments. If that helps anyone else on the call. Thank you, Chuck and Donna, for that information. And let me see if we have one more. There we go. Aria, what about this special one?
What about that?
Wait,
What lines? No, picture, this picture right here. Oh, I don't know what that is. All right, don't do that. All right, don't do that. Hey, Pasquale.
And that's how we'll close out. I don't know, did we lose you, Aria? We may have run out of juice on her end. But that's Aria telling us that she is okay and appreciates everybody being here this evening. Your comments, your feedback, the conversations, so valuable to bring this team together. And as I mentioned before, please join us, join the Facebook page, like us on Facebook, share. This is how we're going to grow and be able to continue to help one another. Anyone else who would like to unmute themselves and say anything, please go ahead and do so.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and participating. Dr. Tracy, Dr. Capone, thank you so much for being here. It always helps, as you have found today, the questions and the feedback. Hopefully you guys can get some takeaways as well to help future parents. Alex, thank you for joining us. And who's the lovely lady?
Who are you?
Mia.
Mia who?
Mia, huh?
Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
Say thanks for having us.
Thank
She's
you,
shy.
Mia. She's shy.
For now.
And who's the young man over there? Pizzamenti. What is your name?
Oh, there we go. Hi. This is
Hi.
Aria's cousin Gino.
Hi, Gino.
Hi.
And I'm her aunt Daniela.
Oh, hi, Daniela. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. This is so nice.
Gino, you're a great cousin. And who do we have here? Ty. What is your name?
Hi, this is Miles.
Hi, Miles.
4-year-old I was talking about. I can't even see my screen. I think lastly, before we leave, I really want to thank Dr. Capone. Dr. Capone, I don't know if you remember me. I called you during pandemic because I was pregnant that time. And then my husband and I were trying, and then we called from Boston. We follow with Dr. Mukai. So hope that ring the bell. And then so we're asking your advice for the fetus, the fetal diagnosis, whatever information we could find. And then we really appreciate that because you were on vacation that time when I called. And then after 10 minutes, I talked to your secretary. You called me from your personal phone on your holiday and then gave us a bunch of information. That was really, really helpful. And then I never met any doctor who really goes far and beyond like you. So I just really want to say a personal thank you to you. Finally, I meet you, not in person, but over Zoom. Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much for the kind words.
Yes.
Thank you. And where are you from? Can I ask?
Me?
Yes.
So we live in Boston, but now we're in Long Island. But now we're in Long Island now. But we are gonna continue traveling back to Boston to follow the same doctor. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We just moved this summer. Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you in future workshops as well and events.
And not to keep harping on the same thing, but just and I appreciate so much everything everyone said. But there were a couple people in the chat who mentioned that they had testing while pregnant, and I'm wondering if you had an MRI while pregnant or a CT scan or anything like that, or an ultrasound, how could that help? Is it just can you tell how the eyes are formed at that point through those devices?
Do you want me to share my experience? Or the doctors, please, you are the expert, right? You can say from
I'm
the
just wondering at
profession.
what point in pregnancy can that be determined if a fetus has fever?
Dr. Capone, I don't know, perhaps you want to field that one, but my experience has been that MRIs are most useful identifying detachments. So pretty advanced disease to begin with. Subtleties would not be picked up on an MRI. That's my understanding of it.
Oh, that's exactly right, Matthew. And even then, not until fairly late in the pregnancy, it's probably going to be a third trimester, get informationally, and limited by the resolution of the MRI.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And one of the things I didn't mention before we say goodbye, and those who'd like to stay on, we can give you a couple more minutes, but those who have to go, we did commit to the hour, and I really appreciate you being here. But we are having an annual conference once again. This will be our second annual Family Connection Conference. It's in January 21st, 2023. It's a Saturday. It'll begin at 10 a.m. and we'll go till 1 or 1:30. That's a great opportunity and time to listen to and hear from the doctors and research as well. Families will have breakout room sessions. Everyone on the call today will get an invitation if you didn't already, as your email addresses will be available to us to send that to you. I'm going to encourage you to come, bring your questions. Actually, when you register, it'll give you an opportunity to submit your question in advance and have an opportunity to listen to what's current in research in this space. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for taking time out of your evening. I know you're all very, very busy, but we so appreciate it at PRRF. Thank you.
Thank you, Louisa.
Happy
holidays.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Merry
Well.
Christmas. Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who joined to come chat with us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Gino.
Bye, cousins. Say bye,
Hey.
Dr. Capone.
Bye, Dr. Capone.